Jeff, welcome to today's video. So today we are totally not in my studio in front of a green screen because I went outside to film this video and it was way too windy. It started snowing and I ran out of daylight. So now that we have that established, let's start with today's video. So in today's video, what I want to do is just talk about, my 2020 season, do a sort of recap, go over some of the highlights, some of the downsides, some of the things I wish I had done but couldn't do. And finally, I'm going to talk about the plans for next year. I'm going to start with the highlights of this year's season. So I've done about 1,500 kilometers. I'd given myself an objective at the beginning of the season to get my bike to 3,000 kilometers. I was at about 1,435, something like that. And so my objective basically was to do right around 1,500 kilometers. Now, I'm happy to report that I've actually surpassed my objective. I am over 3,000 kilometers on my bike. I'm at 3,015 right now, I believe. And there are still a couple of days left of riding possible before the end of the year. Another highlight of this year is that because of COVID, because of the situation, I had to learn to do a whole lot more things than I typically would have before. And because I had a couple of issues that I will talk about soon enough, I've had to learn about a lot of things, a lot more about tires, about brakes, about general bike maintenance. I thought that was a pretty cool highlight from last year, where last year I sort of rode and did minimal maintenance on my bike and left the bike shop to do everything else. But this year I did everything on my own. It's a great opportunity for learning, and I recommend anyone who's able to learn actually go out and learn more about the bikes that they ride so that they can do their own maintenance and just for the fun of it. Now, if I talk about a bit of the downsides this season, there are a couple things that stand out to me. First of which is the first half of my season was plagued with flat tires. I had a problem with my rear tire that I've talked about in a couple other videos, and it just kept blowing out on me, and eventually I had that replaced, but not before I was completely shit out of luck with a blown out tire and nothing to replace it with. And because of COVID again, there was a long waiting time to get some parts, so I was basically stranded without a tire for almost a month, which took out a whole month of riding. That's one of the biggest downsides of this year, in my opinion, is I lost one of the nicest months. So July here is really the nicest month to go riding. So I want to talk about some of the things that I wanted to do this season, but for a reason or another, I didn't end up doing. The first of which is I wanted to get a trailer for my bike. Using a backpack to carry around stuff is a bit limiting. The bike is capable of hauling so much more, and this year I wanted to get a trailer for the bike and just bring it along and do basically all of my shopping with it. Unless I was going to get something that was really huge and couldn't fit on a bike trailer, I would have used that. It would also allow me to carry my dog around with me. So my dog is getting pretty old now. He's like 10 years old and can't really run around as much as he used to. Whenever I go out riding, I always feel guilty that I'm leaving him behind. But of course, I'm going for like 20, 30 kilometers. And the poor dog just couldn't follow. So I always have to leave him behind. And I always feel bad about that. And I figured with the trailer, what I could do is basically haul the dog and let him run whenever he wants to run. And then have a seat for him in the back where I could just carry him with me and bring him along on rides. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that. Again, because of COVID, the bike trailer that I wanted just wasn't available. I figured if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it next year when the better deals come around. And so I decided to put that aside for now and push that to next year. Another thing I wanted to do with the bike is to go full hydro on the brakes. So if you've been following the videos, you know that I've replaced my front brake with a fully hydraulic 4-piston SRAM guide T. And eventually I wanted to get a rear SRAM guide T, 2 pistons this time, for the rear just to complete my hydraulic set. Parts aren't quite readily available, especially not in my area because of COVID, and the prices just aren't there. So I figured with the front brakes, things are working out pretty good. And so at that point, I really don't need to replace the rear brake now. So I figured what I would do is wait until next year, go full hydro then. Which sort of brings me to the last part of the recap video, which is what I plan to do for next year. So the first thing I want to do for next year is ride a little more. So we're now 2 days later, and I just realized while editing this video that I forgot to talk about something very important. And specifically, that is what I'm going to do during the off season. So this is my little gym that I built in my home office. So right here we have the exercise bike and the rower. And the idea is I'm just putting those in the corner there, and I can use that big 43-inch screen to watch videos while I exercise on here. So that's what I'm going to do over the winter. That's what I actually did last winter as well. I'm figuring if I can do 20 minutes every night on weeknights and like one 20-minute session in the weekend, that would probably be sufficient. Anyway, back to the video. This year, as I said, I've done 1,500 kilometers. If it had not been for that month that I was completely stranded, I could have probably hit 2,000. So what I'm going to try to do next year is actually hit that 2,000 kilometer mark, which should bring me right around 5,000 on my bike. Of course, if I get any chance to do more, I will attempt to hit the next big marker, which would be 2,500 kilometers. But I'm setting myself up for 2,000. And then once I do the season introduction next season, at that point, I'll sort of fill you in on what my objective really is for the season. But I'm thinking 2,000 to 2,500 2,500. Another thing I want to do next season is I want to go on more biking adventures. I had a couple chances this summer to go out with one of my friends and go riding here and there, but we never went very far or planned anything out really. And next year, one of the biggest differences I want to try is I want to get some friends and just go on a multiple day adventure with the bikes. I'm probably gonna have to figure out some of the logistics, especially when it comes to the batteries and, camping stuff and bringing stuff around. That's when the trailer again might come in handy. So we'll have to see about that, but that is definitely something I want to try next year. And finally, the last thing I want to try to do next year is actually produce a short adventure film of me and some of my friends biking. So it might not be during one of these longer adventures that I was just talking about, but really creating like a short film where you film some cool scenes, some cool shots. I get some drone shots. But anyway, that's something I want to try and do. So just create a movie and go out with the express purpose of creating that short film. So anyways, guys, that's been it for me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you don't mind the green screen. So this will most likely be my last e-bike video of 2020. If everything goes to plan, I should be back in probably March or April with a new bike video, probably my introduction to my third season. But of course, I'm not going anywhere off of YouTube. Every Sunday, I still release a new piece of music, and every Friday, I will continue to put out some other spoken pieces of content like this one. Just probably not going to be talking about bikes for a little bit. So once again, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you Sunday for my next music video. All right, peace.